What do you want me to do? You just want me to hit you?
Come on, do me this one favor.
Why?
Why? I don't know why. I don't know. Never been in a fight. You?
No, but that's a good thing.
No, it is not. How much can you know about yourself if you've never been in a fight?
What's wrong? Get up!
Been like this all day.
Start asking the right fucking questions.
Come on, hit me before I lose my nerve.
God, this is crazy.
So go crazy. Let it rip.
Let it rip, indeed. So, good company, yo. This is episode 4, I think. Let me look. 3, actually. That was the first time we played that intro. It always psychs me up. My adrenaline gets super going on that thing, man. Last time we talked about it with Joe Sontag, and this time we actually got to see it. So pretty cool. Weird ass intro, dude. I don't like it works, but part of me is like it almost sets you up for wanting to fight somebody too much. Anyway. That's not how this conversation is going to go. It's going to go more pleasantly, hopefully. But before we do that, who do we got in chat? We got Christopher Bichard here. You are from Joe's community, right? I feel like you were up here when Joe was up in here. That's awesome for you to be around. Coleman, what's up? Saying yo. And my boy Zaid. Jeremy's here. So good company. The goal with that video, and the goal with a lot of what I'm trying to do with Good Joe on the channel. Speaking of, the channel is blowing up. I don't know. I'm making a book about AI, and it's creeping me out, dude. Like, you literally go from nothing to machines paying attention to you. So it's weird. But we just hit 2K today for no reason. Craziness. However, thanks for being on the channel, coming around, watching. I've got tutorials and stuff in the works, and we'll be talking more about that in a second. But let's bring Eric Weathers on. He's our guest this week, and it's really, really oddly relevant. So crazy that I didn't plan this to happen. I did not plan this to happen, let me just tell you. But here's Eric Weathers. He's an excellent creator, has a cool book out, and we'll talk about that as well. What's up,
Hello.
Eric?
How you doing, Joe?
Dude, doing great. I don't know about you. How did that intro feel to you, by the way? What did you feel?
I'm ready to fight, I guess.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I got jittery. For some reason, I don't know. I just feel like I get extra nervous when I watch that.
I don't know. Yeah, there's a certain energy to it for sure. I mean,
right. Yeah, not nervous, but I'm you can feel there should be like a fight or flight response or something happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, very interesting that we'll talk about it in a little bit, but about my channel and like what's going on with it and how it relates to you. But first off, while we're on the subject of getting in a fight, I want to ask, have you ever been in a fight? Is there a time that you remember where you brawled in the streets or what have you?
Not a brawl, no, but I've had a handful of playground push around things growing up. I remember there was a wrestling match that got a little too real when I was probably 8 or 9. And
so
I
it's young.
thought, watching wrestling made you good at it. And then I just got really angry because the kid was beating the crap out of me. And then another playground push fight in like 4th grade, but never down to throwing blows with anybody.
Interesting. Yeah, I always find it. That's why that pretty much what urged me to make that intro is straight up like no one ever talks about like that side of it. Like, yeah, it sucks to be in a fight, but we never really talk about, oh, have you not, like, have you felt that weirdness of
Yeah.
of like I know it's especially relevant with wrestling. Like, you don't realize how quickly you get drained when another human's like putting all their force and holding you, and you're resisting. You get tired
Yeah.
pretty quick.
Yeah, you do.
You
You
get
do.
tuckered out. But yeah, I just like they say in Fight Club, or Brad Pitt does, just like it says something about a person and what they feel about fighting, and like like if they've ever experienced something like that, or like had the maybe just the balls enough to go into one, or like
Hmm.
brave the conflict. Something about
Hmm.
I just thought it'd be interesting, and that's kind of what I want to talk about a lot in not just fighting, but like just weird questions, like questions that inadvertently affect how you make your story, and like make art, and how you feel about just life in general. I'm trying to come up with questions that are like get to the nuts and bolts of it in like oddly layman terms.
Okay.
So, but I have a bunch of questions down. Not as good as have you ever been in a fight before, but there's a ton of questions. But before we get into that, let's address this weird YouTube channel thing I've got going on. I don't know if you've ever experienced like the algorithm working for you before. Have you gotten like a viral video before?
I mean, viral in context, you know. I do have one video that has outshined the rest of them,
Sweet.
but nothing like that's taken off in terms of,
Yeah,
you know, crazy viral.
for sure. Me either. But it's an interesting thing to see the jump from like getting no attention to some attention
Hmm.
from like a machine's perspective, or like
Yeah.
just from people. I mean, it's not just a machine. It's something's attracting. But interesting enough, the tutorial, the video that's I guess vanguarding the thing on my channel right now is the video I did of Battlebrook Road's Scarecrow tutorial
Oh,
of color.
nice.
It's weird, dude. I had to go back and update the links because we're getting crazy numbers. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we have 30K views on it by the end of the month.
Wow,
It's gonna be
that's
nuts.
nuts. Yeah.
So I updated the link for you, and my links too. I forgot, like I
Thank you.
had old Indiegogo links on there and stuff. Um,
Yeah, that's
so
easy to
yeah,
forget those little things. Keep
yeah. I'm
them up
like,
to
man,
date.
this funnel's not working, bro.
Hmm.
So no, I thought it was crazy, and I didn't plan it to be this. Like, I scheduled you before, or maybe right around the time when the channel was starting to do weird things, and
Uh-huh.
so yeah, I did not realize your character would be the vanguard. You're vanguarding my channel, dude.
Good. It couldn't have been vanguarded by a better character than Scarecrow. You know, he's watching over the channel now,
Yeah,
keeping it safe.
he's a badass character.
Yeah.
I really dig what you did to him. It was your call on that, right? You made the design.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all
Damn,
me.
man. Dude, that's cool. It's an interesting thing to, because it's not, designing something is way different than like kind of just illustrating or
Hmm.
storyboarding. Like, I don't think a storyboard artist can necessarily design a character. I don't think it's the same skill tree.
No, it certainly is a different skill set. I mean, storyboard art is great for well, telling a story, but you know, in motion and in sequence. But character design is it's a different skill set
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
sure.
Yeah.
I that's what I think. I know this inside. That's how it feels. Chris says, "Do I see a Gundam back there?" Yeah, that's a Wing Zero in the back. It's the only one I've ever built. Man, it takes a long time to do those things, dude. Um, but yeah, I probably plan to do it again. It's just like you have no time almost to do anything else if you're making a comic. It's like
That's true.
yeah, it's really weird.
That's absolutely true.
And this is the feeling we said before the stream, just like the feeling of being spread too thin,
Yeah.
is how it feels. It's like you're always constantly trying to pivot. Do you have any thoughts on like balancing life in general with making a book? You've been making this book called Battlebook Road with a friend. Can I say a friend? Is
Hmm.
that who Zeb
Yeah.
is? Is that
Yeah.
his name?
Definitely. Hmm.
What can you say about balancing making the book and life? How's it been?
Well, that's an interesting question. Balance isn't easy. Um, it seems like it should be. It seems like you just write it down in your calendar and then you do your checklist and you're good, which is what I do, but it never goes that smoothly ever. Very rarely, I should say. So I think it's a matter of priorities for me. It's easier to balance those priorities depending on what's going on. So obviously my main priority is I'm the main breadwinner of the family, so I've got to make money. And
Right.
my day job is, lettering. I work full time for Eric July and all of the whole Rippaverse team. I also still do freelance lettering on top of that. Just, keep the engines running here at home.
Yeah.
That's a big priority. But now, especially now that I have a live campaign, there's working on my book more diligently becomes a higher priority as well. So I just sort of handle it. The day-to-day changes a lot because stuff comes and goes in terms of what a client needs. So it's, pivot. I have to be very, I have to be able to pivot a lot from freelance job to freelance job and then back onto my own thing and all of that. So I keep on top of it. I do keep a checklist, and if something doesn't get checked off, I just move it to the next day and add on to it. But that helps.
Yeah. How for me, I just recently got into like time blocking my time because like I said, I feel spread too thin. So it's come down to the hour. It's come down to the half an hour block of time. Do you do stuff like that? Or do you just do the to-do list or whatever, and then when you get to it, you get to it?
For me, it's just the to-do list. I can see where time blocking would help. My wife does that for all the stuff she handles, which is actually, she's just sort of starting that. So I'll see how it works out for her, see if it's something I could implement myself. But for right now, it's just checklist. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with like the bullet journal idea.
Yeah,
I have that. So like I'll have stuff on there where it's like, these are the jobs I'm currently working on, and they're I check them off as I go and move them over to the next. Every page is a month, so if it doesn't get done or even get started, like somebody reaches out and says, hey, can you learn my book? Sure. And sometimes it's in my book for 3, 4, 5, 6 months before it actually gets started, so it continues to move down the path. But that helps. Bullet journal helps, and then just sort of a scrap paper daily checklist as I roll through things, but no block scheduling. I can't get too structured because I have to really kind of move back and forth pretty quick.
Yeah, you got to be fluid. I think that's the downfall of time blocking. It's like it's the most. It's like sometimes it's counterintuitive because you end up like I'll be at some point. Some days my schedule is time blocked and I don't follow it at all, even though I aim to. So you're like, I'm gonna do this, and then the day ends up being something totally different, and it's almost like I didn't need to write it down in the first place. That can happen, and I don't know how to balance it yet. It's kind of new to me. I've been only doing this for a few months, because I recently picked up a big name art job, and then I still have storyboards, and then circuit, and then now the YouTube channel, and like things are moving quicker than I'd like them to move in a lot of directions.
But it's also good, right? So
it's great.
You're
It's incredible. Yeah, there's like so many things. I got a question here, a big question. What does Scarecrow look like? Let's show you real quick. We'll come back to this website again, but let's just find the character. Where's the best?
Just keep going. Keep scrolling down.
Keep going down. We'll find him a good
little bit more. There you go.
Here we go. Can we click?
If you can't click on it, you can right-click, open in a new tab, or zoom. There you go.
Yeah. For now, I just do a quick zoom. We'll look at it in more detail. This is Scarecrow, and I want to go more in depth with the stuff later. But Chris, this is his rendition. What would you say? Maybe a tagline for Scarecrow, for your Scarecrow. What would he say, or what would
a man? Something just. Sorry, there was a loud boom all of a sudden.
Like a child.
Well, my kids are out doing yard work, so I think somebody bumped up against the house or something.
Okay.
A man basically on a quest for vengeance and using whatever means necessary he can to reach his goal, including using people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the design on him, like the frowny face patchwork thing, is is a work of genius, I think, personally. But
Thank you.
it's, you know, even if that was a happy accident, I don't really care. Like genius, whatever. Like to me, I think it works beyond. It's like I think it's almost approaching classic. It's that kind
Wow.
of cool. So
Thank you.
not to talk you up too much. I'll have to make fun of you
Please.
later or something to
Yeah.
even it out. So along those lines of balance and everything else, I'm figuring out all these things. It seems like having kids. I don't even know how that's like. I don't have kids. I don't even. Like. It's like I can't imagine what aliens are like out there. I also can't imagine what it would be like to have kids and make a comic book. They're on the same realm for me.
It's all I know.
Oh man.
I've only ever done it while having kids in my life. So I started the first book we really started working on. I was also a new dad at the time. So
Wow.
it gives you a certain sense of
You talking about
priority
Flying
there,
Fortress?
you know? Yeah. Flying Fortress. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a certain amount of priority there you get, you know, because if this is what you're doing to make money. You really can't slack because you've got bigger fish to fry. You know, you got kids to take care of and make sure that they're being well cared for and brought up and all of that. So
Yeah, that's the most important part. I mean,
Mhm.
I would imagine, but
Yeah.
dude, it's one like I said, it's out there for me. It's an idea that like it's mostly because it seems impossible, but I guess things really become. I think our brains like whatever our baseline default mode of thinking is, everything relates back to that. So if my
Mhm.
baseline is not having to deal with kids, I can't. It's so far out there that um, I would have to I'd have to experience it to know. I think.
Yeah, I could see how it would be a foreign concept because, you know, it completely changes your life um, in the best ways and in the most sometimes not so good ways because, you know, you're used to a certain flow and all of that. So
Hmm.
not that that's not good, um, but yeah, I've heard other artists say things like having kids have made them more productive. You know, they had a certain rhythm in life, and then when they got kids, it was like, okay, well, now I only have a certain amount of time, so I'm going to be more efficient with what I do, things like that. So
I've heard similar
I
things.
guess I don't remember really anything before then, what it was like without kids and being and working, so I can't really
Yeah.
compare, unfortunately.
That is interesting because people say that a lot. Like it's almost like the Mandela effect of. I wonder if there's some sort of Mandela effect that you could like make some weird theory about.
Yeah.
Let's get back on to like something that I feel like I want to talk about kids, but it's the one place where I don't have enough experience. But I want to know one thing at least.
Okay.
Is it influencing? Well, first, you're not the writer on your book, right? You're the
Correct.
artist.
I'm a co-creator, and I don't. It's not written just by him, and then I just draw it. There's a pure collaboration on it.
It's more complex. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's a better book generally.
Yeah, I agree.
Produced. So the question is like whatever parts of coming up with certain aspects of storytelling, maybe there's a side thing you're actually trying to write by yourself. Who knows? Is a father role influenced like emotions, feeling out how characters react to other characters? Are you including more kids in your book, or is there any kind of fatherly influence to your work? Is what I'm getting at. Are you seeing that happen?
I'm sure it's there. I know I want the stuff that I create to be something that I'm not afraid to show them. That I'm not like, "Yeah, this is dad's thing, and I don't want you involved until maybe you're like, 18." I don't want to do anything like that. So I'm making things that are um, content that I'm comfortable with them consuming.
Okay. So as like
So
as a viewer, audience.
yeah, because I mean, especially this day and age. I mean, not relatively new in terms of storytelling, but there's a lot of stuff out there you just don't want. I don't want my kids consuming. So being able to have something that is a little bit more, I'm not calling it. It's not an all ages book,
Hmm.
but there's danger in it, and there's violence in it, And I think it was because I have two boys, and I keep looking over there because they're in them. I can see them back there working.
Okay, I know. I'm wondering what's there.
Yeah, I have this thing. If something moves at the corner of my eye, I always look at it.
No worries, dude. Yeah.
There's violence in it. It's a dangerous world that our characters are in, and I want to tell those stories because I think those stories are important, and they're important for kids to be able to read those things and know that the dangers in this world can be overcome by whatever means is being shown. Like in the case of the books that I like to do, or it's a team of people working together towards a greater goal. So that's what it was in Flying Fortress. That's what it is in Battle Brick Road. And not shying away, not glorifying anything like that, but not shying away from it either. I think a lot of stuff that's made for kids these days is really sanitized. I don't like that. So, ever since I have a 13-year-old and an 8-year-old, but ever since my oldest was like 7, it was like, all right, we're going to watch Alien. We're going to watch Terminator.
Yeah.
We're going to watch this stuff because I didn't want them being afraid of things that were unnecessary to be afraid of.
Indiana Jones.
And then, all of that, let's watch the face melt. Let's talk about what that is. Yeah, absolutely. I think that stuff is really important, especially for young boys, seeing heroic figures do heroic things. So
in the face of like real kind of scary stuff, like Nazis and stuff.
Yeah.
Like real
right. And that's a conversation. I mean, when you get older, you're like, what is that?
Right.
What is Indiana Jones fighting? On the front, he's just punching a bad guy, but deep down, like as they age, you can talk about, well, that's fascism and, all of that. So
it's interesting, man. I was just on Arvid's stream earlier today, and we were talking about this little weird in between, this like PG-13 area of content. And I think we talked about it, like it's been escalating. It's like an inflation of, I guess, like more and more packed in. Like there's no such thing as like a G movie anymore. It's like everything that was G is now PG. Everything that was like essential, it's all stair stepped up. And so it's interesting.
Or down, depending on
or down. Yeah. Correct. Mr. Bancroft's here as well. What's up? Says Indiana Jones was punching indie comic creators apparently. Yeah, straight up, dude. That's what they call us these days.
Not C's, yeah.
Zaid says, Jeremy says, always admire guys like Eric. That's good to say because he's a dad, right? And he can wear a cap with style.
A fat guy hat, as Mike likes to call it.
Does it?
Yeah, because this is the fat guy hat style.
Dude, I just gave my uncle a hat like that. Is that like an Irish cap or is that like a different type of?
I don't remember what it's called. All I know is it just works. I put it on. I said, "This is me. This is it."
Yeah, dude, that's what it's all about. I heard somebody say on a YouTube video recently, like you should dress like what your older self down the road at 80 is already dressing. Not like in like the crappy, but yeah, it pretty much is that like not care attitude. Just like, dude. That's why I started wearing like wife beaters and stuff on stream. I was like, I get it hot in here, so like I'm gonna wear what I want to wear. I don't care.
I have a fan blowing on me. I got the wife beater on underneath. So
nice.
Wearing layers today. It's Sunday. I'm wearing my Sunday best.
Heck yeah, dude. Man, I can't tell you how it's exciting to see people improve. I think there's only one more thing cooler than seeing someone improve, and that's seeing someone that really loves something, love the thing. So it's like it's like watching a dude like for me, like I really like racing, and so like when you just being somewhere around someone that like is enthusiastic about something, when you're around that, it's like infectious. It's like you get pumped up from their like passion.
You're like, why all of a sudden do I care about racing? You're really passionate about it. Yes.
Or what? I hope it doesn't go 1-to-1, but yeah, something like that. You're like, oh man, I really am. For some reason, I'm getting back into stamp collecting, or something. You're like, well, I don't know if that works, but
maybe. But it is. You're right. Seeing passion like that it's inspiring because then it kind of rekindles your passions if there maybe you've lost them.
Yeah, it's that, but it's also just it's exciting to see because we're in a world where like it's just. Blah, like a lot of people are just living the life blah as possible,
Yeah.
and playing whatever new video game comes out, and not questioning if it's good or bad, or just not being so choosy, or like, this is the weird part about like talking to people that are outside of, like, say, Comicsgate, or outside of like a movement like this, where I don't even call it a movement, just like a group of people like this who care
Hmm.
about the stuff they're putting in, like, or taking in.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't. You go talk to a lot of my like normie type of friends, like, they don't understand to me, I just maybe seem a little bit more cynical or something. That's how I feel like they perceive me, as just a little
I
more
could see
cynical.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How does it feel like to
Looking
you?
at it from like an outside perspective, trying to look at it and seeing like, well, you just don't think anything's good. It's like, well, it's because it's not. Like,
Yeah.
objectively, things are way worse now in terms of they're not telling good stories. They're not telling truth anymore.
Right.
We have to reach, and not that far back into our past to get those kinds of stories, though, which is good. But I don't think we're too far away that we can't like pull back on it and say, all right, let's bring it back.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think there's a lot, because I'm watching a bunch of old movies. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm watching a bunch of old movies. Maybe I'm watching too much Narwhal, but I'm watching old movies all the time now.
Yeah.
Something like that. Either way, he's got me on this anti-hero's journey trip. I'm a believer, but at the same time, I'm really into heroes' journeys. Like, I don't
Yeah,
care what Narwhal says. I think it's what we attach to the most. I think as
for
humans,
sure.
like, that's what's the most appealing. And it might not be the most artistic. It might not be the most expressive and groundbreaking and artistic. But I think for the most part, people like seeing that journey, because um, it requires a protagonist to do the things everybody's afraid of doing, like being courageous, and like
Hmm.
taking the steps, and fighting the fear, and all the rest, all the things that, like,
Slaying the dragon.
slaying the dragon, two dragons
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
And so, yeah, it's hard to like envision not having those type of entertainment as well. Like, I want both. I want like the crazy weird stuff that like is just experimentation, and
hmm,
kind of talk about an idea, and also Indiana Jones, and whatever, like the hero's journey, Star Wars stuff.
yeah.
Both sounds good. I just came up with a cool idea, Eric. Maybe you've thought about this. Maybe I'm giving you away a little bit. Have you ever thought about starting like a lettering firm? Like, hire on other letterers. You do the managing of talented letterers. Now you don't have to put in the hours in the same way. You can get the books done. Has that ever happened before? Like,
I kind of do that a little bit now, and yes, I do want to do that eventually, where it's just like it's Weather's letters, and maybe I'm not in the trenches as much.
hmm,
But one of the things I've dipped my toe in the past is teaching. Not really
okay,
teaching one on one, but doing video tutorials. And
right, right.
I was talking with Sean the other day, and he's a very positive guy, and can, I don't know, he tricked me somehow into thinking, yeah, let's just keep doing that, let's. But yeah, I am I have a whole I use Notion. Well, I have Notion. I don't use it constantly. That it's
Mm-hmm.
a scheduling like idea board thing, and I've had for probably a year and a half, 2 years now, a whole bullet list in different categories of uh, YouTube videos to make, assets to sell, like on Gumroad and all that, to build this lettering uh, workshop and tutorials and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are great resources out there for lettering, but you have to know where to look, and
Right.
not all of it is in one place. It's
Hmm.
all over the place, and none of it is on video. Like, if you want to find a lettering video, you've got like, this guy did this one thing, and this other guy did 2 videos, and then there's me who's done 4 so far.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not a one-stop shop. So I'm working towards making that thing. And then
That'd be
a
interesting,
side
dude.
note, yeah, a side note to that is, in terms of employees, I am raising my oldest to sort of help with that. He's been helping with paid, like just getting pages ready,
That's
like
awesome.
putting the page in the template and putting the text on the page, and then we're working up slowly. So now he's picking the font and placing the text over who's speaking and not just in a general panel and little things like that. So as we move forward, he'll take on more responsibility for that. He'll earn a little bit of money, and I can free up my time to draw Battlebrick Road 2 and 3 and 4.
Dude. For some reason, the first thing that comes to mind when I think of like a family business of letterers, I just think of like that classic like football scene where like, I don't want to play football, Dad. I want to be a
maybe he does.
like you.
Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. He seems enthused.
Yeah, that's it's just funny to think about it that way as like a biz.
Yeah.
Admiral Wackass, a genius, says hero's journey is kind of just watered down young applied to story. I think that's probably true. I mean, it's Campbell. Like, I feel like it's just the problem is advertising and money and whatever. And once you realize like it's tapped into something that's primal and works, like the money machine goes at it. It's just like this complex now. It's like the hero's journey complex is just it works. So like, why not? It's going to work way better than this kind of experimental. Let's explore the idea of no free will, and
or
people are going to watch it.
Let's try and humanize every villain that's ever been created.
Right. Yeah. Let's make everything the gray zone. Nothing's wrong with that. I mean, Game of Thrones proves that works, where like morals and everything is kind of gray in that area, but I feel like, I don't know. If I had to pick what was better for society is less gray zone morals.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think I personally believe there's absolute truth. So I'm 100% in that camp of no, let's erase the gray stuff. There's black and white for the majority of everything. So
and I know you're religious, right? You're a Christian.
Yeah. Yep.
I am not. I'm an atheist. However, I also believe in universal truth. And
how do you square that circle?
Yeah, well, it's I think it just comes from I guess I'm in the Sam Harris camp of like reducing suffering for other people. Is anything that reduces suffering and produces prosperity for other people, I think is the moral route. And now you get into this splitting of hairs of like what's really going to produce that outcome. I guess that's where that philosophy kind of breaks down a little bit. But
yeah, for me, the philosophy breaks down is what's the standard by which that worldview is based off of. Whereas I can say it's based off of a living God. And in atheism, it's like culture, so it's like, and that's always changing. So
true.
Yeah.
I was talking about Arvid off stream about this, so I'm going to save some of this for Arvid's convo. But I'm in the middle ground, and I feel like a lot of people, if you talk to me in my 20s, I'd be that angry atheist at the time, because I think I know a lot of times if you're in religion from childhood, you can like easily see like it being forced upon you, I think. And so you get angry about it. And I think you're more angry. You're more angry about the lack of freedom than the content, possibly. So I can see that angle. Anyway, it's interesting to talk about that sort of stuff because it ties directly to your book. It's like if you have this universal truth, universal belief that what's right and wrong is there and concrete, it will find its way in your story and influence the hero and the rest of it.
Yeah.
Do you kind of sneak in anything into your book? Because I know you're co-creating, but the writer's in charge of generally themes and stuff, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say. Well, we're both Christians.
Okay.
We're not.
Well, that makes it easy.
Yeah. Well, there's not anything like, we always joke about, making certain characters modern day, so quote unquote. I don't think there's anything snuck in there. Maybe an Easter egg here or there but it's not. I'm not a fan of overt Christian content in terms of media. I think media should be one. It is a battlefield as we've been It's something that I've been struggling with just in general. Like, where's my place in all of this? The my
I get
worldview is going to seep through regardless. You know,
Yeah. Dude,
So-
I read Battlebrook Road is one of my favorite indie books that came out.
Thank you.
Gotta say. And I should have reread it for this. Or I should have made a review or something. Maybe with the channel growing as fast as it is, I'll do these really impromptu, quick, that boy kind of camera angle and just do quick comic videos because I forget all my critiques. I've totally forgot all the critiques I have on the book. There's a few things I wished you guys did, but they're more like, I don't think it's less problems and more just like, I wish this was fleshed out more kind of thing.
But yeah. I've seen other reviews and there are things that people are like, I wish this or wish that. And what's great about it is all of that stuff is already in the pipeline, and we're
Nice.
telling the story in a certain way. We're trying to drag the screen. And I don't know if that's specifically what you had in mind, whatever your critique was. And, obviously there are no book's perfect, even mine, as much as it pains me to say. But for sure, I remember somewhat recently, I got a review. I forget who it was, but they were saying this, this, and this. And I was like, well, book 2.5, there's like, it's coming for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure there's part of the content in there as well, and maybe that's part of it. I don't even want to spoil a lot of things in there, but I also want to talk about AI and sort of because that's I feel like our connection between content and genre is AI. Because you've kind of got this post-apocalyptic world that's kind of, I wouldn't even call it apocalyptic, but in some ways it is. It's
hard to nail that down exactly because it's not
right. I wouldn't call it.
It's not, but it is. Yeah.
Right. I didn't want to put in that box, but before we do, let's check out a couple of the comments in the chat real quick. Absurdum is the way. That's Camus, right? I think that's a good philosophy for me.
It is good to laugh at everything. Yeah.
It is. I think humor. What I learned, dude. Did you know humor is it's all part of the animal brain, that side of the brain. It doesn't come from the frontal cortex. If you think about it, you can't laugh if you're thinking. It's literally, it's almost like a hiccup. It's like something that just happens.
Yeah, laughing when you're thinking is fake laughter.
Yeah, that's when you say, "Oh, that's funny, dude." Yeah,
yeah.
Instead of laughing, that happens sometimes because you want to laugh.
I say that a lot. My animal brain is being suppressed because I joke with my wife. I was like, I used to laugh a whole lot more. I don't laugh as much as I used to. But I don't know what that is.
Absolutely. I don't know what it, same with me. I think it's just, to me, I was kind of lost a little piece of myself, maybe through isolation, cause you almost need a backboard of another person or at least to make jokes happen. You have to interact more, and I've lost some of that interaction. Yeah. Let's see what else. We got Bancroft making a paragraph here. The standard can be unknowable, just as the nature of God is unknowable. I don't think it's a stretch for a non-believer to think a things may be better, objectively true or untrue. You're right, because I feel like as a non-believer, I can see both ways, but it all depends on your viewpoint. And the thing is, without that, what you're saying, without this a matter-of-fact doctrine that you can't question, anything after that, if you're just coming up with a philosophy, can be broken down to the first principles that will kind of have a lot of leeway between it being actual universally true or not. I don't know. I said that really weird. But
I'm trying to wrap my head around it. But yeah.
Same here. Yeah.
As a believer, I would say that God's nature is revealed in his word that he's given us. So not that God's nature is unknowable. And also I believe that we are created in his image. So there's something there too. Something else you said that I was going to have a point on, but these are big concepts that I I think about him a lot, but I never really interact with him a lot in terms of with
Yeah,
other people. So
this is kind of what I want to do in Good Company here. This show, it's
no,
like
it's great.
what I like to talk about more than the book and more than pulling up Indiegogo stuff is like, and what I think people connect with more than anything. I said this on the interview with Joe Sontag, is just like this seeps into your book. All the things we're talking about, this is all there.
Hmm.
You just
Yeah.
if you're not a creator and you're just watching this down the road, like believe me, like it just as you're working almost subconsciously, it all files in place without you realizing. Like I'm sure my book is some sort of therapy for my brain, as I'm sure a lot of is.
Absolutely, all of that stuff is. And even when
Yeah.
I mean, you just said when you're creating it, it's seeping into it. Again, going back to my worldview is the opening line, Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created. And knowing that we are made in his image, that's what we do all day is we are constantly creating, especially here in this field. I mean, we're creative people. We're making stories. We're telling fables and all of that. And I think that's a creation thing. This creation goes out through every facet of our lives. We make food, we make love, we make stories, we make laughter with friends. All that creation is just, it flows through us because
Mhm.
of, again, my belief, the truth that God created all of that anyway. So it is us imaging him. It's one of those ways we image him.
So that all makes sense, and I'll talk about this endlessly another time as well. But there's something called a. I'm a fan of this guy called Douglas Harding.
Hmm.
He made this book that kind of he wrote a ton of books, but he's dead now. But back in the early 1900s, he kind of wrote a bunch of books about this kind of. It's pretty much separating out the ego, pretty much the first person, how you experience the world and how you
Hmm.
are viewed. And there's like this, we only, as a society, you only focus on the third person. Like your name is Eric and you have this body and I see you and you're cool and whatever. But from your experience, it's totally different. You're Eric. And what you
Hmm.
see is you don't see your head. You see your arms and legs when you look down, and you're the same thing. But and we call both things Eric. You could call yourself Eric from your point of view, but the point is like the experience is totally different. And so
Yeah,
he wrote these books about this difference, and it kind of ties into religion because it's like this. It's one of those universal truths that I would talk about endlessly. That I don't want to. I want to do a total deep dive on that aspect of religion. Maybe I'll get into a religion series with people and see what they think. Admiral Wackass brings up there's an objective truth, but is unknowable to man. This is why vitality, creativity, and power are paramount in the face of the Sisyphean. How do you pronounce that? Uh,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, the
Sisyphus
boulder.
boulder. There you go.
Yes, the
Just
Sisyphus
pluralize
boulder.
there.
We all know the guy that pushes up the
Yeah.
boulder, constantly trying to fight against the gravity, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right about creativity, and I bring up the whole headless kind of Douglas Harding guy because we all have the same experience. I think a lot of the things that we talk about, even from like atheist to a theist or whatever religion or whatever, we all have the same common experience, which is you're experiencing essentially the same thing I am, like from the
Yeah.
first person point of view. Like you see the world, experience this crazy, weird consciousness thing. Like we all have memories and dreams and all the stuff. And we all have this drive for creativity, like you said. Now, where does that come from? I think maybe
Hmm.
where we would argue but we have this drive. It's part of us.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I do want to talk more about that at another time. I just have so many questions and so many things to catch up on because we haven't talked for forever. Um, I remember one tweet, you were amazed that I put out my first book quick because I already had most of it done. And you
Hmm.
felt behind, and now I'm seeing you put out your second, like ready to roll. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
now I'm behind. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I really need to pop out the second book
Yeah.
for Star Circuit. This I've learned one thing, which um, I think I needed to fulfill my own first book because I needed
Hmm.
to know the struggle and I needed to feel it. But what I didn't realize was that it would take away from the creation of the next one. And so
Yeah.
I didn't have this revolving wheel of books going out, working on the second one at the same time. It was kind of
Yeah.
like fulfilling and then and then a totally separate cycle of starting the next book. And it was my fault for not foreseeing it, but at the same time, what can you do? I'm just first timer kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you can see you've been here a while, and you can see other people have gone through that, but unless you're in it, it's like, oh, okay. Now I understand why I don't have any time to do anything.
Absolutely.
That was a big frustration with the first book is our fulfillment took forever because our printer had a lot of hiccups along the way.
You mind sharing which one you went through?
Actually, the one I'm going through again, we ironed out a lot of stuff, and they have been overly apologetic and given me a lot of free stuff.
Do you want to share who that is?
Oh, it's a local printer here in town. They're called Express Prints and Graphics.
Cool.
So one of the major things we wanted, not necessarily a major thing we wanted to do, but when we were thinking about all of the stuff that we did with Battlebrick Road, it's a story about Kansas, created by two guys from Kansas, and now it's printed in Kansas.
Nice.
I thought that was pretty neat. So the only real outlier is our colorist is in, like, I don't know,
Malaysia.
Yeah, something like that.
Philippines. So. What about so it's printed in Kansas? You live in Kansas City or somewhere close?
I live in Wichita.
Wichita. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. This brings up on the next. This is a cool segue. I want to talk about video games, but we'll leave that for fun ending stuff.
Please.
Video games are great. And IPs. We have similar love of IPs, but Freddie Williams. We talked about this one time. Freddie Williams and I have an interesting relationship too. And he's a Kansas guy. Wasn't always, I believe, right? He wasn't born and raised there, was he?
No, I don't believe so. But ever since I've known him.
Yeah, he's been there a long time now. And so I don't know if you know this, but Freddie is the reason why I started drawing, reason why I started making a book. I picked up his Robin run in 2005, 2004, and it amazed me. For some reason, his art style and just, I think the combo of him and putting out his digital book of making comics. You remember that?
Yeah, I got it on my shelf over there.
Yeah, dude.
Signed.
Do you? Nice.
Yeah, actually, it was signed. He signed it right on the spot where I hold the book, so it's mostly rubbed away. So,
oh, dude.
Yeah.
I have to. I don't have his book, but I have the book. I always save it because here's the Robin book that is the reason why I started. His signature, and I didn't realize it, but this is not all him in the first volume here. This book is also drawn by Carl Kerschel. I don't know if you know who he is. Have you seen him?
Probably. That name is really familiar.
He's cool because he's just now getting the indie space too. He's got a book that looks pretty much like my book is kind of around Akira and like this that aesthetic. He made a Metroid book. He's pretty much made a Metroid IP, and it looks amazing.
That's cool.
I have that too over here. But Carl, he was also in that book, and so I have to almost kind of credit him also to the reason why I started. So what's your relationship with Freddie? Like, how did you guys meet out there?
Pretty interesting. See if I can remember the timeline properly. So I did my first convention in Kansas City at Planet Comic Con before it was like the last show before it blew up,
right? And
became like a big show. And I had Flying Fortress, number 0. And I'm trying to see if I have that book near me, but I don't think I do. Got this one though. So we had our very first 0 issue, which was just an ash can that we printed together. This was the first trade we did. And so we're there selling the book, and then around the corner, and I didn't know his work at all. I wasn't familiar with him, but around the corner is Freddie Williams. Yeah. And I'm trying to remember if I think I had his book because I was working on I got hired for my first sort of professional gig was an indie book from some Canadian publisher, McSorley or something like that, And so I went and I was like, I want to do this digital thing. So I think I had his book. Those little details that are lost in the memory banks, whether I had it or I bought it from him. But either way, he was right around the corner, and we talked, and he signed the book, and we had a good conversation just about all of that afterwards, because I was like, wow, I really like what you do. This book was really helpful. Actually, now that I think about it, I definitely had the book first. And then it's sort of, I would email him every once in a while with questions, and then it was like every year I'd
So
stop by
like
and
art
say
critiques.
hi. Yeah,
Okay,
I'd stop by and say hey to stop by his table and say hey, and then at some point there was an invitation to go eat, and then we went to dinner, my wife and me and him and Kiki, his wife, and then it was just sort of from there. It was like, hey, I'm going to be in Kansas City, and he's like, it was one of those. Whenever you're in town,
Yeah.
let me know, and you can stop by the studio. Because back then he was doing YouTube, and he
Yeah.
was showing off all of his process, showing off his studio, and all of
Those are
that,
the days.
and yeah. And so it became like, all right, well, let me show you what I'm working on. And he would critique my work. And it was just this, I don't know, this friendship working relation. Not, we didn't ever
Yeah.
work together, but this just relationship that sort of formed over being consistent at going to the shows and him just being a hell of a nice guy.
Yeah, a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's weird,
yeah.
man. Like it's a very interesting. This is what I'm talking about. This weird intersection of, I don't know, man. Like, because I would count him as like, because you've had more interaction, like obviously physically,
Yeah.
for sure. Like me, I would love to be in a studio and see how it all looks, not on camera.
Yeah. It's
But
great.
yeah,
It's huge.
It's interesting. I'm sure
It's huge.
I
Yeah.
bet. So yeah, I would love to have that, but at the same time, whatever I did get was enough. Like I would call him enough of a mentorship, especially when I started out. I was like, I got enough critiques from him where I was like, okay, I probably can say he's influencing this,
Yeah.
But yeah, if anything, I showed him my test pages for Star Circuit somewhere in 2016 or something. And these are pages that are not a part of the book that are in my book today. These are pages that I plan to show eventually. They're really cool pages. And they're like I was like, this is like 3 pages. I was like, let's see if this thing will look cool. And he was like, he signed off on them, gave me a critique on a lot of my portfolio that one year. And it started me off down this road of like, man, what I considered one of my idols. I almost put it in the title of this video because he's, I would say, an idol of comic art. You know what I mean? I was like, especially because he's the reason why I started. But yeah, from that perspective, I was like, meeting one of your heroes and then getting critiques on it is another thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
I've been fortunate to do that more than once.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It's never so far. They say never meet your heroes, but so far so good.
Yeah, I mean, I hope maybe. Do you have another story of one of your heroes and you meeting them and influencing you?
Zach Howard.
Zach Howard. Who? I don't know if I know his name.
He drew The Cape, Joe Hill's The Cape, and the Cape the Fallen. He did an Alien book. He did Wild Blue Yonder. He did a 2-issue Hellboy story arc. What is he working on now? He just did a Kickstarter. He did some art for Hillbilly Sasquatch, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
Done a ton of stuff. And I've always loved his artwork. I mean, every art book he puts out, I'm getting one. I have, just out of frame, I have an Alien vs. Predator piece he did. I have an Iron Giant poster he did. My kids have a Ninja Turtles and Spider-Man stuff he's done.
Nice.
And actually, I'll be being face to face with him a week from now, like literally 7 days from now. He'll be at this local con I'm doing here in Wichita, and I'll be picking up a Scarecrow sketch cover that he did for me.
Nice.
So so
it's incredible.
I forget where I found. I know where I found his art. It was DeviantArt. Back when that was the only place where you could find artists, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell in love with his work almost instantly. And I remember thinking, wow, this stuff is really good. And I thought it was all digital. And then he did a few live streams and he was showing him ink. And it was like, okay. It's just the structure of his lines. It's like, how is that even real? Yeah. And it's not like there is a lot of detail, but it's not in that intricate detail stuff where it's like all the fine little hairs and folds. But there's just a certain aesthetic to it that I thought it was digital. Like he's got really heavy lines. And anyways, so I think I was in a live stream and I was like, oh, hey, I'm going to be at this con. And he's like, yeah, come by and I'll look at your portfolio. And I stood there I mean, I was at the show. I've never been to a convention as a fan. I've always been as a creator, getting getting a table in Artist Alley, and that was when the Flying Fortress days, and so my friend who wrote it, he was there. My wife was at the table. I was like, I got to go get my portfolio for like an hour and a half. I stood there and he went through everything, and not like this is where it's, you suck and all that, but like really building me up, saying, this is great. You're on a path here. I can see this. And he was telling me about like, the big thing that always stood out to me with his critique or his, whatever was, to think, to really think. He said, move that camera around. So, after that critique, I was doing a lot of, 3/4 down shots, big open spaces, zooming in on faces, pulling the camera back, varying up the
camera angles,
the camera angles and the sizes of the characters on the page and all of that. That really stuck with me. And then even the next year, I went back again, and he saw my improvement. And then COVID and all of that, and Flying Fortress was done. I hadn't done conventions in a long time. And then last year, he was at the con here in town, and I was like, dude, and he was like, you're the Flying Fortress book, right? I was like, yes. So he remembered me, which was really cool. And we had great conversations just about like IP and because he's built up IP and sold off IP just as like a revenue thing for him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to do that. How do I do that? So we've had conversations about that. And he was looking at my pages for Battle Brick Road 2, and he's like, you're there, man. I could see you drawing G.I. Joe right now. So
that's great.
That was really cool, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him again. So
you're going to see him soon. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Dude, that's that feeling of going from like admiration to engagement is crazy. Like for me, I think that's one of the crazier feelings to have. I think it's important to like bridge that gap from like admiration and like reverence to they're not some sort of pedestal person that you need to like look up to. It's more like bring it down to peer level and see what they're doing on like a ground level. And then it suddenly becomes, and that's what happened with Freddie, and that's what happened to a few others that I really admired. But it's cool to hear that story, especially the brain part of it. Like use your brain. I know there's a Frank Miller quote about using your brain. Goes along the lines of like you need to be using your brain more than your hand, essentially moving your brain more than your hand.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah. It also someone also said this, and now I almost want to make a video on this one aspect. Someone said that you should be paying attention to how much your brain is actually thinking per brushstroke. So if you're thinking slower than your strokes and your pencil marks, it means that you're going on the subconscious. But if your brain is thinking as fast as your hand is moving, it means you're in the conscious. And so like you can directly figure out if you're going on instinct or if you're going on actual brain, like from Vortex stuff.
I don't think I have any instinct because it's all very slow for me.
Okay. And I'm the same way. Like, I think if anything, if I go into the subconscious, it's very rare that it comes out like super impressive.
I don't do it with line art. I can't. If I'm painting, I'll get there with painting. I won't get there with line art.
Interesting. I feel like painting is a little bit more that way. Like, like that's why lines, if you're a new artist out there, you're watching and you're new to the channel and you're liking what you're hearing. If you like painting, you probably should start with drawing anyway, because it forces you to know exactly what you're doing. Painting is this thing where you can pretend pretty easily that you're it's more fun, I would say, for that reason. But, drawing really pulls out the flaws pretty quick. So
you can really see your strengths and weaknesses when you draw. And the best part about drawing is that is the base for all other creative, I mean, even like, I think even a fundamental understanding of drawing can help you in so many ways, not even in an artistic endeavor. Just being able to sketch something out to say, maybe you're building a you want to rearrange your bedroom or something. You're like, well, let me just draw what I'm picturing, simple things like that. I think being able to put pencil to paper and see your idea even somewhat fleshed out is super important.
For sure. It's all visualization. Like you said, it's all in the brain. So what should you be thinking about when you're drawing? Like you said, it's kind of like the same thing where with practice comes you being able to like use your CPU cores in different areas. Like if you're okay with like drawing the fundamentals, then your CPUs can be put into where the camera's at, or like how much line weight should I be using, or like how do I stylize or design wise make this cooler. And that's the hardest part about starting off, is like all your cores are being used for, let's just make this look okay. So I don't know, maybe talk on that for a second. Let me let out my dog, but yeah, let me know what you think about like that realm of like, using these cores. I know you talked about moving the camera around. What are some other things that like you focus on when you're drawing outside of making it look good?
It's changed for me. It used to just be make it look good. It used to be like try to get anything on the page. It didn't matter. Not that it didn't matter, but maybe there wasn't a focus. But now there's way more intent. There's way more like, am I leading the eye around the page properly? Am I drawing characters that are, it's a word I'm looking for, compelling? Is it fun to look at? Is every panel the same size? That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a good way to learn, but it's like, okay, if they are, is the contents within that panel, is that varied? Do you have extreme close-ups and long shots? Do you have silhouettes and highly detailed shots? And it's not like everything has to be on every page all the time, but there's a whole lot more beyond like, how do I draw the human figure? How do I draw hands and feet and clothing folds? Sometimes I can still get hung up on those little details, but the broad strokes, the broad strokes of a piece, you're able to sort of put more into that mentally. You're able to be present more in those decisions when those fundamentals are covered on the subconscious side. Yeah.
If you have it covered, what I think is, as comic artists, you have it really the hardest job. I feel like even harder than animators. Probably even harder than, because with animators, 2D animation or that and the like, you're focusing on characters and some of the camera, but not a lot. A lot of it's done by storyboard artists. It's all broken down into different things. But a comic artist, we're like the generalist of generalists. There's no like, and the problem is you can be really good at one area and then like a 0 in another area. And it comes up. I remember one of my first gigs I got, I guess I was really good at one area, but I was still not up to par with drawing like portraits and faces. And when we got to that part, the guy canceled the gig. That's how bad the stuff I was producing.
Wow.
But we went from like loving my work to like, I can't use you kind of thing. And I don't blame him. I really don't. I just like, that was the contrast. I was focusing too much on this other thing because I was like an environmental concept artist beforehand. So I was like, I'm really into concept art and environments.
Same. I mean, that's kind of how Battle Red Road was created, was concept art.
Nice.
So that was an avenue I wanted to go down. And then I came up with this cool story and I was like, all right, we'll do comics again. But concept art is that it's part of that thing I still want to do. Like I want to work on, I've worked on a game that never happened.
Yeah.
And I want to like create characters or even like chairs. I don't care. I just want to work on a video game.
Yeah, some cool stuff. Get hired by Trent. Trent Canugas get you going. I'm sure he needs people.
Oh, I've been taking his class. I've been working with Billy Basco too, and he's good friends with Trent. So
nice. Yeah. What's Billy teaching? If he's teaching you, like, is he teaching or just working with you?
Just working with. He's got his. I always get the name backwards. It's Ghost Owl or Owl Ghost. One of the two.
You're right. I can't remember either.
Oh, it's always the other one. No matter which one I pick, it's always the other one. But I've done some work with him. That was the project we worked on. They do a whole lot of stuff. It's an art house, so there's general, board game stuff.
I remember when he started it up. Like I was helping him figure out if he was going to start it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's been fun. There haven't been any projects that I've been able to just jump in on lately, but I did some an illustration for like a TCG, and then I did some concept art for a game.
Sweet.
Like one character design with a few iterations, and I love that process because, you know, it's you're digging into that creative mode, and I like character design. You know, that's not evident in Battlebrick Road or anything. So,
dude, it's crazy, man. I have you ever applied for like real concept art or character design jobs?
I have, but my portfolio isn't geared towards it right now, and that's one of those. Like Flying Fortress is out of the. There's no plans right now for any sequels to Flying Fortress in terms of actual producing it. But I've always thought I have some sketches to build a portfolio of character design, and just what would Flying Fortress 2 be with the characters and the villains and the monsters and all of that. Right. So is again back burner behind back burner behind back burner. It's there, and I do want to. I want to explore that more. I really like Sean's got me like looking at, you know, learning how to paint with actual pigments, with paints and brushes and paper. Every time I drive home and the sun is setting, my wife is like, "You always comment on how beautiful the sunset is." And I'm like, "What? I don't even. It's just it is. That's hilarious. Our sunsets here are beautiful." She's like, "You should be painting this stuff." I'm like,
"Yeah, I feel like
maybe I should."
Yeah, painting is a part of concept art. You have to be able to do both. You got to be able to do the painter part as well. Like it's part of the job. Like I mean, some people get it by doing like this weird line art mix of things. But these days, especially for jobs like that, you need to have both kind of skill sets. But yeah, recognizing color and lighting, all the rest, you need to be able to pull that off.
Yeah, it's stuff I'm constantly diving into and trying to learn.
I see.
I do want to do that. No, it's like, what's after Battlebrick Road? Well, I mean,
maybe that.
I don't know. Let me work on the next Uncharted or, you know, whatever. That'd be cool.
That sounds awesome, dude. I like hearing aspirations like that because everybody's got them. I don't know what my goals are after doing books. Maybe more books. Maybe some version of the story in a different way. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've definitely applied, and I remember it was around the time when like wokeness was like extra, it was booming, as they say. And I applied to a few, and they were, dude, some of these art tests were, talk about like not caring about if it seems like it's weird or they're like, it was like one of those like, oh, we're trying to do this one thing, but we need you to specifically draw a black person for us. It's like one of those type of, it's a very weird, but without saying it, you know what I mean? Without saying it in so blatant terms, but
their skin color is a little too light. Can you darken it like that kind of?
Right. Kind of thing. Yeah. But it was in an art test. So you're like, this is like, why does it matter? You know? You know, you're not going to use what I'm doing anyway.
You better not.
Yeah, odd. Anyway, yeah, that happens though. I've heard of controversies like that where like art actually gets used from a art test. But yeah, so I don't know how much time you have left.
My kids are now screaming, so
okay. My dog's barking.
We can keep going. We can keep going as long as you need.
Okay. I mean, I usually go an hour and a half or so maybe 20 minutes. Can you pull that?
20 minutes sounds perfect.
All right. They won't be killing each other by then, hopefully.
Hopefully not. I mean, the weapons haven't come out yet, so we're good.
Okay. Well, keep it Nerf.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep a Nerf out there. So I know we both talked about at some point in time liking TMNT. That's an IP that we both really love. For some reason, I guess with the martial arts or I don't know, just the combination of things for me, TMNT is huge. I don't, what about TMNT makes it one of the IPs that you always look to?
I mean, it came out when I was a kid, and I think that's not unimportant. I think certain things that are always going to stick with you when you've experienced them as a young one, and they're sort of formative. I mean, it's how I learned to draw. Was like Michelangelo, Leonardo, let's draw Ninja Turtles. those were the toys I had. It was all of that. And you know, looking now that I'm almost 40, trying to understand what that was, and just thinking through everything of all the things I like and the things that I make. I think the biggest part of it is there's a teamwork that they have. You know, I like stories of people working together to achieve a goal. You know, growing up, the X-Men was cooler to me than Spider-Man, and you know, Ninja Turtles. And it's like Batman's cool. I mean, he's probably the coolest thing DC has, but I would rather see a team dynamic over any just single character ever. I think that's the biggest part of it. And on an artistic scale, I mean, the designs, it's just a brilliant design. These turtles that are anthropomorphized, they've got all these color, you know, each one's a different color, and they've got different weapons and different personalities and archetypes. And it all just sort of works very well together. And one of the things I love about them in general is they're really, they can be stretched and pulled in all sorts of different directions. And sometimes what they do is good. And sometimes by they, I mean the creators, whoever's working on it at the time, can just be like, I don't really like that. But at the core, it's like Mikey, Leo, Donnie, and Raph, and Splinter, and April, and Casey. It's like, I like what this is. And there's something special about that core group that is just charming and fun and all of that. So yeah, the team dynamics is probably, I think, what really sticks with me the most with that. So
yeah, I feel exactly the same about that, and so does Zaid. He says samesies.
Samesies.
Yeah, so I agree. I think it's something about the brotherly thing. I'm a sucker for brother stories. My story is literally inspired by brotherly stuff. And you're right, the teamwork is part of it, but it's also that it's cool because there's 4 of them. So like this dynamic is this ever changing like family, and that's what it feels like. It's this family thing, and
they're each their own.
To deal with it differently. Yeah, each character. Yeah,
and they're each their own character too. So like, you have your favorite, and like that becomes almost maybe a part of your identity in a sense, at least in the nerdy thing. And that can change. I mean, when growing up, I was like, Michelangelo's the coolest, and I like Raph forever. But now it's like Donatello's kind of speaking to me now. So there's a weirdness. There's something to that.
Yeah, it's like, and it's also, it's like, it's that part that we're missing, that the part that we're missing in like IPs is this archetypical character, or archetypal character. So the like you were saying, like maybe you're missing the leadership part in your personality. You're like, oh, I idolize like Leo for that reason. You're like, he's not really old enough or like wise enough to be it, but he's got to grow into this leadership role, and be the guy that, you know, the team kind of hates, but somebody's got to be that guy.
Right.
And so Zaid says I'm Raph. I relate to Raph the most, I think. But it's mostly because, I don't know, he's the guy, like I said, a lot of his personality I'm missing the most, I think.
Well, I mean, he's the scrapper, he's the fighter, and you opened your stream with a bunch of fighting. So.
But at the same time, I'm like conflict avoidant in some weird way. But it's something I'm always like pushing to. It's like walk toward the fear. And so me liking Raph is kind of walking toward the fear, where I naturally feel more like Leo. Like Leo's more my tempo of things. And Mikey's just too crazy for me. But yeah, I think that's why we love it. And I think that aspect of teamwork and loving the characters in a way where, like I said, like you're saying, each individual, they all have to deal with the same problems differently, and everybody gets to see the same situation kind of gone through with each character. Like Raph's dealing with the same problem differently than Leo, which differently than Donnie, which kind of brings up kind of this realm of video games. I don't feel like TMNT also has some of the best video games.
Absolutely.
It's so weird that like how do they have the best IP and like also
The
some of
best comic book
cartoons.
movie,
Yeah,
you know. Yeah.
cartoons.
Yeah. Oh, what the?
Whoa.
Did you see that?
Yeah,
Is that just doing that because I did this?
I think so. Are we going crazy?
What the?
Is that part
A
of your
puppet?
system?
I have no idea. I don't know
That's
what's
hilarious.
happening.
Dude, this is the next level right
Can
here.
I make it do other things?
Dude,
I
that
don't
would be
know.
amazing if like a devil came out
I
of
don't know if maybe it's a I thought I saw I was on with Sean a couple nights ago, and I thought I saw something like on my camera that's like, okay, can I make it do other stuff? Is that
Dude,
gonna that was
that could be a
weird.
whole stream. Let's figure it out in a stream.
We're
Deep
talking it's
dive.
AI, Admiral
Yeah,
Wackaz saying Skynet's learning from me. It's all the whole AI thing.
I
It's
think
the
so.
watcher of the West.
And he also says Shredder's Revenge is also so fun. It is.
Love that game.
Somehow it's better than it's ever been. I don't understand.
What I would have loved to have seen is what they did with Streets of Rage 4. Is like you can unlock the old Streets of Rage skins. I would love it if you could. Maybe they do
Yeah,
have this. I know they have like different color schemes,
yeah.
but like getting the old sprites would have been really cool.
They're doing a lot of cool stuff with
Yeah.
Turtles in general, except for the last movie. Not a fan. I think personally, the way I figure out if I like that movie or not was like just from the trailer. Watch the trailer with your eyes closed,
Hmm.
and it easily feels like it. Like ignore the names. It feels like it's a monster movie. It's like a real monsters type of like I don't know modern type of story of kids. I don't
Yeah,
know. Like it's not really turtles. It doesn't feel turtles to me, except it does have the dynamic of the teamwork and the
that's in
um,
there.
yeah, that's in there.
That's what I like. That's what I pulled away the most from watching it was I feel like they got that pretty well,
Hmm.
in making them feel. I guess that if they were teenagers, they were like barely teenagers, like
Yeah,
still very adolescent
preteen.
in their in their mannerisms and their interactions with one another. Because I mean, I see that just in my own kids. But one thing that really stood out to me was it's such the nerdiest artistic thing, but the lighting in that movie was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah, the YouTube channel, Every Frame of Painting. I
Hmm.
feel like that was one of those things you could pause on any scene, and just the way that they lit the scenes
Hmm.
was.
Has he done have they done a every frame? Has
I don't.
they haven't broken it down?
I'm not sure, but I just know that while I was watching it, I was just really impressed with just the depth that they gave these characters, visually speaking,
Yeah.
and the environments and all of that was very. I know it's like I said, a weird thing to like, but I really enjoyed the lighting. It gets best, cinematography in an animated movie if that's a thing. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised.
for sure. Tweenage, as we're talking about.
Teenage Monster,
Teenage
yeah,
Monster Ninja Turtles. Yeah, that's pretty much what it felt like, and I think that's the
yeah,
problem with it. I don't think turtles need to be mature, even though I like the mature
no,
versions a lot of the times.
hmm
But um, it is missing the ninja part, even to me, a little bit. It was
yeah,
like,
because they weren't trained; they just watched, Jackie Chan movies.
yeah, it was like, all
Yeah,
right, like what I really like. I don't know if you've watched or read any of the kind of the reboot that happened with IDW of recent
a little bit.
times.
Yeah,
A little bit. So I'm a big fan of Santa Luca, who drew majority of that, along with others. But
yeah,
Santa Luca is one of my favorite artists. He's on my top, and he wrote and drew one of my favorites, The History of the Foot Clan. He's making a new one called I think The Making of the Foot Clan or something. Either way, go
hmm
read that little trade back.
okay,
It's
okay.
incredible. It's incredible. He's good. I think he's Brazilian or Cuban. I
I
can't
think
remember.
so. Yeah.
But yeah, great stuff. Anyway,
So
not
he's one of the best turtle artists ever.
ever. Yeah,
Yeah.
designer, best designed, best
Yeah.
like action. The way he draws Shredder is like on another level, like exactly how I would
Yeah.
perceive it to be
Yeah.
in my mind. Yeah, rare occasions where your expectations are completely met. Um, so before we jump into like looking at Battlebrook Road for the last little bit here, what's your least favorite? Well, two things. Here's a little question hour here, question minute. What's your least favorite thing to draw? Least favorite thing to draw?
I hate to say it because it's one of those things that I should be really good at, but I don't like drawing environments.
Okay.
That's the reason I don't, that it is my least favorite, is because it's the hardest thing to do.
Mm.
I can draw people. I can draw women thanks to drawing Thea 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
But putting those characters in a believable spot, that's a real struggle in it. There's a lot of process that goes into that, or like, all right, how can we just not draw a background here? How we get it? Let's just do some action lines.
Let's figure out how to make this just speed lines.
Yeah, let's zoom in way in or make it a silhouette. Let's just environments are really difficult for me. So
I relate, and
I
at
know,
the same time I love it. So yeah.
Oh, see, I can't. And I was working on it last night. I was trying to finish up a page for Battle Brick Road, and it was like, this is a struggle trying to get this to I have a trouble seeing like proper perspective, just even in my mind's eye to get it. And then, if there's one critique on art, other than I always draw the eyes off. I can never, even I'll draw the line across the face. The eyes are always crooked.
Yeah, that's always hard, man.
I don't know why, even after all this time, crooked. Oh, well, now it's just a thing I do. Like Rob Liefeld doesn't draw feet. I can't draw eyes on the same plane. That's just the way it is.
It's just, we all have our thing. I think I have some of those too, man. Well, I definitely had, I'm not going to pretend.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things like that in art. I think real quickly, the thing for environments that's changed the game for me recently, I was on Fabrizio's channel. He's drawing this weird Hoover detective book for Alterna. And it's like this weird vacuum cleaner headed detective that's like in like Lovecraftian type of mysteries. Anyway, he has a straight up tutorial on perspective, and it's only about, not necessarily all Kona vision, but it's the center of the picture plane, essentially setting up your.
Okay.
I don't know if have you ever used one of those? For me, it's changed the game. It's essentially like you pick a center point of your image, and then pick a point somewhere below it, and then from that point is where you put a 90 degree, and that tells you where exactly your vanishing points should go.
Okay.
So I use like I use one of these triangle things that are right angles. So whatever, I just put that on my tablet or whatever, and then so depending on where if your picture plane's up here somewhere, it just tells you where you just rotate it, and you'll find where your vanishing points are, and that'll keep your drawing from looking too distorted as long as you keep it within kind of a similar Kona vision. But yeah, just look up that kind of. Here we go, Horace H. Hoover. Yes, that's his story.
Oh, is that the name of the character? Okay,
that's the name of the character. But go check out Fabrizio's channel. He's got a couple videos on it. But it just changed the game, because I usually go too far or too tight with my vanishing points. Yeah, and
I still like, the thing is for me is I still try to do wild stuff like 3-point perspective, and I'll sketch it out and it'll make sense in my sketch. But when I try to actually put the lines down, it's like, well, none of this lines up at all.
Yeah,
it's all wrong. It worked in the sketch, and then I try to put the rulers down. It's like, this isn't working at all.
Yeah, dude. It a lot of times it doesn't go 1-to-1 for me either. It's tough. I want to talk more about AI too, but we don't have any time. So what we're gonna do is, the last thing I want to talk about is, what's your favorite video game, before we look up Battle Brick Road as I bring it up.
There's a few. All right. I have different genres of games that I enjoy the most, but the first one that came to my mind when you said that is DayZ. As janky as it is, yes.
I don't think I've ever played DayZ. What is it? What platform?
It's PC. Well, it's on PlayStation and Xbox, but it was primarily a PC game. That's basically the only way to play it.
Okay.
It was the very first sort of survival game. It was a mod for Arma 2. And this Dean Hall was the creator of the mod, and then it turned into a full-fledged game. It's never really been a masterpiece in terms of, it's always broken, right? But you're in this world, you're in this land called Chernobyl. It's based off of like Eastern Ukraine or something like that. and you're in a. It's like the day after, the fall, the virus and all the people have turned into zombies and are infected. And then every other player in the game is another survivor. And you're just fight against each other. Sort of.
It's weird.
It's like you can play the game solo. It's always online, but you could just be like a lone gun, live out, hunt, make, animal skins into your clothes and just loot and survive. You can team up with like-minded individuals and form a clan and build a base and do that. When you die, you lose it all. You start over from scratch. You spawn back on the coast and you have to go get your loot. You can be
it's
a
like
bandit.
day and then the letter Z is how it's.
Yes.
At first, I thought DayZ the other way around.
Oh, no, not the flower. Yeah, it's a flower simulator. No, it was the first game. If you've ever heard the term running simulator, that was the game that it was. I mean, massive. From town to town, you have to survive. Like, like your health, your water, your stamina, your blood, your food. You can get infected. If you drink water from a pond or whatever, you'll get cholera. So you have to it's brutal. It's so much fun. I probably put more hours into that. The only other game I probably played more in my life cumulatively across its franchise is the Battlefield series.
Really?
So, DayZ. Yeah, DayZ is so much fun. I want to play it right now. I haven't played it in a year or two. It's been too long.
Well, it's your
and then World of
game.
Warcraft.
Well, it's in this genre, it's your number one game, we'll say at least, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Admiral Waka says, have you ever played Urban Dead? I have not.
No. I've tried the other ones that have come out, like the DayZ killer, we're trying to make a Halo killer or Call of Duty killer.
Right.
I haven't really dug in. I've enjoyed them at times, but DayZ stands for me head and shoulders. As broken it is, like vehicles don't work. You trip over a rock and your character will die because of a glitch, not because he actually got injured. Ladders didn't work for like a year. Like you would just randomly glitch out and fall to your death.
That's hilarious.
But there was just something about it. Like if you ever want to look into the game, look up Running Man Z on YouTube and watch his videos.
Okay.
And he's like a great look into the world of DayZ and what it's like being either. Sometimes he'll team up and these great firefights that just happen organically. It's like you're running, trying to, you're dying of thirst. You need to find water. You come across this town. You're at the well. You're drinking, and then gunshots go off, and you have to try and survive. If you didn't get shot right away, you can take people hostage, tie them up, duct tape their mouth shut. You can put bags over their heads, and all of that is with an actual player on the other end. And normally they're speaking, they have a Russian accent, but yeah.
Dude, it sounds so, the organic kind of, it's sandboxy, obviously. Right?
Oh yeah. It's so cool. Yeah. Dang it, I want to play it again.
That sounds fun. I'm not against those type of games. It's rarely the games that I go to, but maybe that's why I might really like it. So, but then again, I don't have a PC to play it, so I could try.
Well, it's on it. You can play it on Xbox or PlayStation, but the control system is really, it's like you need a mouse and keyboard. So.
Okay, I'm gonna find a way. I'll look around and find a way. It's very interesting. But
what's your game?
My favorite game changes quite a bit, but I think it will. It comes back to Metroid Prime because of the environments. Yeah, I think, and it just released with the remaster, so it really stands out as probably one of the most environmentally well designed just experiences. I think
sure.
It's flawed in a few ways, but I don't think it matters because it nailed something so good that it didn't matter.
That's the thing, right? With DayZ, there's something about the broad strokes of that the little details where it's like, well, that glitched or whatever.
Right.
The
feelings you get are great.
Yeah. The experience overall is way better than some of the parts. Yeah, for
sure. Yeah, he said Metroid is sick. Yep, most of the Metroid games are really good. Yeah. But let's talk about Battle Brick Road. Dude, this is how is the experience building your website up to being a crowdfund setup? What are you using?
I'm using Shopify, and I'm just following in the footsteps of Bancroft, basically. Okay. I was like, I'm just going to steal everything you've done. I'm going to do it on my own. I've had a few tweaks here and there.
Mhm.
You know, for instance, the checkout button on each one, you can add to cart instantly. He didn't have that. Things like
Right.
that. And obviously, some of my graphics are a little bit different and things like that. But
Mhm.
the buildup was pretty stressful, but I was able to hit the ground running. Or I didn't have all but one hiccup that was very easily fixed within the first 2 minutes of going live.
Right.
I think there's a little bit of question on whether or not it was a good idea in terms of reach, in terms of customers knowing that it exists,
Yeah.
but I was shadow banned too, so it's like, was I gonna find them anyways, or is it all up to me?
Uh-huh.
And I haven't been really good at promoting it on my own channel like I was the first book,
Right.
which that can always change, and it will change.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Uh,
it was I enjoy it, and I'm not done with Indiegogo or Kickstarter or Fund My Comic. I'm still going to move and do things over there as well, but
mhm.
day one, main gig, main thing, battlebrickroad.com. That way people can get that in their heads.
Is that is that going to be planned where you have like the next sequence is going to be on Fun My Comic, or are you going to do this or re-released or something? Is that the plan?
So it'll be basically when we're basically at print or like ready to print,
Good
we'll
idea.
run those other campaigns to find those other people in the other pools and get them over here, and hopefully for Battlebrick Road 3 they'll move over to the website. And the idea being to find more people to bring in and have them on the mailing list and bring them into our situation over here.
Yeah, dude. For sure. I think that's a good way to go. I'd like to do the Shopify thing like you guys, but I don't know if I'll have the time. Depends what I do. But for now, it's going to be Fun My Comic Indiegogo thing, and we'll see
Yeah, it's great.
if I get shadow banned. It'll probably make the decision for me.
Yeah, that was me. I already was. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna have to do this myself.
Right. So
Yeah.
we'll see if that's my similar situation. So do you still have BBR #1 in here somewhere?
Yeah. So it's under the add-on section, which isn't really an add-on. You can just buy it by
Oh,
itself.
okay. There you go.
But we're doing it's a cover C. The Kelsey Shannon did that cover.
Yeah.
So you can get it by itself. If you want to get it a part of a bundle, like you want to get 1 and 2, we have our quote unquote dynamic duo bundles as well. So
Cool.
any sort of combination that you want, you can build it yourself a la carte or get a bundle. Lots of cool stuff that way.
Interesting. Yeah. So, and this unique cover, it's only possible with the printer you have, right? Like it's only because
Yep.
we're crazy enough to try this.
Yeah, the physical printing machine that they use has this technology in it. So
That's crazy.
every version of the cover is different from every other version of the cover. So whether I print 100 of them or 1,000,000 of them, they'll all be different.
Yeah.
Same
That's
elements
really,
and all that, but all in different
yeah.
places and stuff.
That's a cool system, man. I mean, stuff like that is, I'm just glad I know the dude that's doing it. That's all.
Yeah,
Super glad
me
you're out
too.
there doing this. I do the book. Like I said, for anybody who is watching this later on the road, I read Battlebrook Road 1. It's really, there's no reason not to buy it. Like the cool part about using characters from a tried and true like IP from American history is that like you kind of have a basis already. Like you've already kind of
Hmm.
feel familiar in some way, even though they're drastically different. But I think just as an American specifically, you already feel at home a little bit.
Yeah,
But then you get torn apart from feeling at home. But it's funny that like that kind of ties in with the original theme of being at home.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I think that all works. Great covers, great variants. The book was a really great read. I'd say the books I had the best time with were yours and Vaughn's,
Oh, thank you.
Monster MD, and probably Fiendish. And I really liked Fresher Luke's Forsaken Gods. I think that was really well
Forsaken
done.
Gods. Yeah.
Yeah, really felt good. There's a lot of other books that feel good, but and everybody has their own type of story they really like, I
Hmm.
think. And yours just felt good to me. So yeah, I can't recommend it enough. Go check out book one, buy book two. The link is in the chat, or not in the chat, but in the description.
Hmm.
And Yeah, I'm looking forward to I don't think I backed two yet, but I will in the last 12 days here because I want to get maybe this one. I don't know. The Malin's cover looks great too.
Why not both? I know. Yeah,
Why not both,
I
indeed?
looking forward to your patronage. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. Really stoked for it. Obviously, I did the tutorial based on one of your characters. I'll bring that up in a second. But yeah, it's been a great conversation.
Yeah.
Dude, this happens with almost every guest, but you specifically, because for some reason I didn't get to half of the questions.
We'll have to do a part 2.
Yeah, so I'm excited about this. I'm excited about Good Company in general, because like I said, what I'm trying to do with this show is like, let's ask the questions that most people are I don't know. It's just like I think in a roundabout way, it leads people to your book better than talking about the book.
No, and it's also more fun to talk about this stuff than like, let's just talk about my book again and again and again and again. You know, you do these shows, you do the circuit. It's like, you want to tell it, and I'm excited to talk about Battle Brick Road, but it's nice to talk about, you know.
Yeah, it's also nice to talk about just not
anything.
The craft all the time too. Like,
yeah,
just,
for
like,
sure.
What type of ruler do you use, bro? And like, it just gets old. You're like,
yeah,
dude. And it actually, talking about it more like that just makes it more seem less fun. And I like to keep the mystery of a lot of it there too.
Yeah.
But before we roll out of here, I know we went over just a little bit. If you need to jump out, feel free to, because I know you have kids. But I'm just going to talk about Star Circuit real quick.
Go for it.
I got a new website as well. I actually used your website, Fiendish, a little bit of Bancroft's, Zade's, maybe both Zade's. Anyway, I looked at a lot of people's websites, and I was like, man, I need to redesign it to where you can actually click and go where you want to go. Because before it was just like, before it was like too new agey. It was like it's like one of those really infinite scrolly kind of ones, and I was like, man, I hate this.
Yeah.
If I hate using it, I feel like other people are going to hate using it.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. So, yeah, we got the new sweet banner for Star Circuit, a new synopsis talking about both the kind of the plot points, but also character based. In my book, we follow a street racer that has both personal problems and societal issues of how things work. In this story, our street racer is kind of damaged, and his family is kind of ripped apart by the androids that sustain society. And so the things that kind of keep him going is racing, and this delusion of racing in the premier circuit, which is only competed in by androids. And he's looking forward to this kind of delusion of racing in this kind of premier race. But with that new synopsis, I really like it. There's new character bios. We'll click it really quick. I like these character bios because they're short and sweet. Huh?
I need to do that.
Dude, this is the West. I personally, just a few stats. I like these little things like likes or something, just like not useful, but kind of tell you more about the character than you really think. It's like deceptively good for showing what the character is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like showing these off, and it's just fun. But new, and probably the best thing about the new website is the new preview. You can read the first 10 or 12 pages or something of Star Circuit 1. That is also for sale. Pretty cool. At the lowest price. It's actually limited edition because this cover from the first campaign is not coming back. And so there's only like 12 left. You should be a part of history and get this cover. But yeah, when I launch the second campaign, which is going to be in the early new year, I'm looking early 2024. We're going to do a black cover, kind of like how Graveyard Shift is, where it's like this kind of generic-y looking cover. And then bundle that with the new cover. Yeah, and it's going to be great. Tons of things are happening in the new book. You can sign up on this chat, on this. If you're new to the website, it'll automatically pop up about signing up, or you can go to the homepage, go down here, sign up for Chapter 2 news. That's going to tell me a lot about a thing. It tells me a lot about the interest of the book and stuff. So help me out there. There's a teaser trailer, which I'll play on the way out of here. And yeah, I'm trying to put the stakes to the next level with this book.
It's a great looking site.
Thanks, man. Dude, I couldn't stand my last one. There's also other things in here too. I do storyboards as well, so that's there. Some other concept art galleries. It's just it's a fun place to be now. So I'm glad. It wasn't like that the last time around. Anyway, that's pretty much the show, guys. I feel like there's something else I wanted to pull up. Like you mentioned something. I was like, maybe I can pull this up real quick and check it out. But I totally lost what I was going to do. What is Admiral Whack-Ass? I only saw Cock Blocked and now I got to look at it. Like, what does this have to be? Cock Blocked by the Ghost in the Machine. His head. Star Circuit 1 was a tragedy. Yes. I like how you used that verb though. That's great.
Yeah.
So the book is actually moving forward pretty quick, but it's never as fast as I like. And I wish it was coming out this year. It's just
we always do. We're always slower than what we want.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Dude, you're an inspiration, I feel like, to
thanks, Joe.
A ton of us. You lettered actually Star Circuit. I didn't mention that, guys.
I did.
You did, and you did a great job. And I don't know what I'm going to do lettering next wise, because I might try my hand at it again, or I might get
go for it.
Who knows?
Yeah, whatever, man. I'm here if you need me. If not,
of course, yeah.
I can teach you. You'll have my lettering tutorial videos to go off of.
That is perfect. If anything, maybe I'll try to get a consultation with you or something. Who knows?
I can do that.
That's something that like actually works.
I've done it before. I'll do it again.
Nice. I just remembered what I was going to pull up real quickly is just this will lead back to you because I want to bring up my YouTube channel, the front page, just to show what's happening with your video, which is crazy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I have to show you. It's crazy, man. I didn't think it was going to blow up so much, but the channel is blowing up. So if you go here on my channel at the top here, this is my channel, Good Joe. We've hit 2K. Crazy.
Wow.
That happened in 2 weeks. I went from 1,200 to 2K in 2 weeks.
So good. You got a good name there. The Good Joe Show, good company. It's catchy.
I realized it did. Yeah.
Yeah. It's catching on.
I think it's catching on a little bit. But this is the Vanguard. Like I said in the beginning, we hit 14. It went from no views to everybody likes it. And your link for Black Battlebrook Road's in here. So go check it out. Cool. I'm stoked.
You should be.
Dude, yeah, it's hard to build a channel. Really hard.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I
thing.
kind of gave up for like a year, and now I'm like, all right, let's turn the engines back on.
Dude,
let's put some fuel injection in there.
Turn them back on because I had this last thing before we roll. My fiance's in the chat, and we had this conversation. I literally was about to give up, like as it blew up. The next day or the next 2 days. It blew up, but I was literally about to just close it down. I was like, worked on this for way too long, and for not much, at some point you're like the ROI is not there. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
We're just doing it for fun. You know what I mean? But we're doing it for eyeballs mostly. And so,
trying to build that audience.
Oh yeah, so go follow Eric Weathers. Your YouTube channel is also in the description. So subscribe to Eric Weathers.
Thank you.
Get those numbers up for the dude. And also go to Battlebrook Road. Get those numbers up. You got 12 days to get this freaking exclusive cover, right?
The cover's going to be around on the website for a while, but the sale prices that we have are going away.
Okay. For the cheapest price, do it.
Yeah.
And dude, Eric, it's been great. You're the coolest cat around, probably. We share the same mentor.
Thank you.
It's cool.
You. Yeah.
Well, he's more of a peer to you, but your peer is my mentor, which is fun. And I really appreciate you coming on. That's it, guys. I'm going to play the trailer for Star Circuit 2 on the way out of here. Have a good day. We'll see you next week. Good Joe Shows Wednesday, where we draw some fan art. I give it away to somebody in chat for free and mail it out. It's nice. Fun times.
That's cool.
But yeah, thanks, Eric, again for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, let's get out of here.